been doing this for 10 years. We've been a, not to brag, an independently financed, profitable company just delivering useful computer vision solutions in professionally productive cases.
I want a job.
Okay. that's like near the end.
Would you repeat the sentence that you just said? Because that's your mission right there.
Which part?
Useful video information.
Yeah, I think I said useful, commercially productive applications of augmented reality. But sometimes I just say a lot of words. So anyway, so keeping on that sort of demand, when you look at the first IKEA catalog, this is sort of a wake-up call for us from a consumer standpoint. Because you have a very large brand, of course, but we've worked with large brands before. We worked with people like Macy's, we worked with people like Toyota, and the responses were always good, but they weren't enough to kind of satisfy us or make us believe that the world is ready for consumer AR. IKEA kind of changed everything, because IKEA, they really did it right. So you're talking about 211 million catalogs in 2012, 2013 that were distributed. And without kind of knowing and just sort of hoping that this was going to work out, it did, and it did it remarkably. This app was downloaded more than 5 million times in the first 2 months of its existence. So released in July 2012, it somehow managed within 5 months to become the most downloaded app in the App Store featuring branded or promotional content. And that's according to research firm Distimo. But that is just remarkable. You have all these other apps, marketing apps that are released every day, but this one, that's basically just a catalog portal with an AR scan feature, becomes the most downloaded app essentially of the entire year, within 5 months. On top of that, IKEA noted that 30% of the people that were downloading the app were new users. That means they weren't updating. They were actually downloading the app for the first time. They also noted that people are spending an average of 8 minutes in the application. And it's weird because in web marketing, we usually see that as a bad sign, right? People aren't finding the right information, they can't. But in this case, this is clearly, to me at least, an experiential figure. It means that people are opening the catalog and they're using their device while they're reading. So it's really becoming a mixed medium interface to kind of browse this kind of product information. Of course, I still don't know what to do with this, but it seems like people use their smartphones more on weekends, or at least they read catalogs more on weekends. I just thought that was an interesting thing. But once again, so in addition to that kind of belief in the conceptual videos, there is clear demand right now. People are enjoying this, people are using it, and this wasn't even a particularly useful experience. It was very cool. You basically were able to, as the picture in the background shows, visualize certain products in 3D animations. But you couldn't, for instance, place it in your home. You couldn't, buy it through the app. But still, people were using it and they were spending a lot of time doing it, which eventually convinced IKEA for the most recent release to do just that, to put furniture in people's homes. And fortunately, I was trying to have a live demo for you guys, but for some reason the iPhone 5 is not cooperating. But I encourage you to download the IKEA app on your own phones. We have a IKEA catalog here to use for it, so you can check it out and experiment with it. But yeah.
I just threw one out.
So the cool thing also is that we talk about like 3D objects. We realized that augmented reality, 3 or 4 years ago, cannot be limited to the 2D. Because we limit ourselves to the 2D, then we're limited to essentially print, which, as we know, has its troubles, and things that we create. And if we create more signs, we're really just polluting the tech environment, because there's new markers here, new QR codes here, all of this stuff that really isn't very aesthetically pleasing to the average user. So how do we take reality and actually use it to our advantage to be able to display augmented reality content? You can start the video. And this is the first iteration of the augmented city. So what we did is we built a model city, and we made a point cloud of the entire thing, and built a 3D model to overlay everything with digital information. This handsome gentleman is our CTO, Peter Meyer, one of the founders of the company. See behind him, there's a model city. We should get some shots of that soon.
Experience for me not just means showing some kind of information on top of the camera image, but true.
But this was basically the first time that anyone had, on a mobile device, consumer mobile device, straight out of the box, been able to process this kind of information and track and render an entire environment on top of a 3D environment. We're not looking at the sides. That's why we made it so bare bones, so people could tell that we're not using image recognition, we're not using marker recognition. This is all 3D point cloud recognition. It's the ghost of the space. It's an intangible referent for which to basically use as a canvas for digital information.
Optical tracking, optical recognition, and all the capabilities.
And this is sort of the foundation of the augmented city, the ability to walk into an urban environment and do this on a larger scale. Of course, the caveat is that if you're actually in a city, you don't need to overlay the city with a 3D model of the city. And we understand and recognize that. But for the purpose of showing people the capabilities of technology, we wanted to, kind of go crazy with it. So we have next. So this is a very old photo. This photo was taken probably 2006. And one thing we recognized even at the beginning is that augmented reality is a vision technology. And someone earlier mentioned the Yelp app, and it's a very cool experience, but those sort of 360-degree experiences don't have any vision components. They're just taking GPS or location-based information, converting it to visual information, and displaying it on a live camera view. They have no direct reference to reality. So for us, it was always about the vision. How do we actually use vision-based experiences in productive use cases? This is an old example because one of the first things we did is we tried wearable computing. And I don't even know what prototype or what wearable computing headset. That's how old this is. I have no idea what it is. But it's important to show that we've been working on this for a long time. We were in the space a long time ago before it was anywhere near the consumer's eye, pun intended. So if you want to see what he's seeing right now, this is the kind of stuff that we're doing. You look at a car door in its sort of manufacturer state, and you can overlay all of these components and prototypes, highlight individual things, compare them to their real world counterparts. This is stuff that industrial companies and automotive companies were very interested in and are still using today. If you've driven a German engineered car in Central Europe, it has most likely gone through an augmented reality prototyping phase. Some component of it has gone, whether it's the car door, parts of the engine. They do this stuff on a regular basis. You can see even from back in the day, we were very invested into industrial applications, factory floor, planning, construction planning. Basically, because if you think about it, you've got these gigantic components. And if you're, a factory planner, you're some sort of construction company, you can't really make a house call with this stuff. You basically have to draw it out on graph paper, and the person has to look at it, and they have to convert it from a 2D interface to what they think it's going to look like in real life. Why do that when you can just skip right to this is exactly what it's going to look like, even though these are giant pieces of hardware? This is how it's going to be. And that's a very valuable use for basically anyone in large industry or product cases. So this is actually one of the first productive wearable experiences that we did. You can go ahead and start the video. So basically, Volkswagen wanted a way to kind of train new workers and new service technicians. So in this case, the idea is, if someone brings a car in and you have the mechanic, there's a lot of different cars, there's a lot of different engines. How do you streamline that? How do you help knowledge share? How do you help training? So it goes into the garage. You have the training service technician wearing the wearable computing headset, looking at the engine, and then you have real-time information displayed right to you. So this is really when hands-free. This is a very important part because you need your hands to do things. You can't just keep picking up your iPad or your tablet, looking at an engine, putting it down, using the wrench. You want to be able to do this stuff in real time, so it's overlaid. And this is from 2008. And this is a prototype that's still in development. And actually, Volkswagen recently went to a mobile solution, which is funny. But very soon, they'll probably be going back to a wearable solution because now the wearable computing is accelerating to a point where it can be productive. So another quick maintenance demo. This is not a wearable computing experience, but I'll show you. This is the kind of stuff that Metaio, and I think Epson as well, is really trying to achieve, is how do you deliver these kind of enterprise results? And this is from the viewpoint of an iPad. You're an air conditioning repair person, you recognize the unit, you pick the maintenance display, and this is using 3D tracking. So once again, we're using point clouds, we're not using markers or images. We've inserted a Frenchman to remove the manifold